Good evening and welcome to the BigAss Poker Show here on Untilt Radio. We are live from Las Vegas in the back of the BigAss Poker Hideout. We've got Heather, Sly Poker Girl, Dr.
Hello.
Rudy, and Angel as usual. But tonight's special guest is Dutch Boyd.
Yay!
What's up, Untilt? What's up, viewers?
So we're going to let Angel take over so that she can ask Dutch a few questions. She's throwing her hands up like, I don't know what to say.
I know you have some burning questions you've been dying to ask.
I know. Well, I've asked them all. Well, we were talking about you played at the Wynn.
Yep, I just finished up there. Played about 5 events there, and nothing. Just a big whiff. It was kind of interesting. I did make day 2 of the main event, and it's funny because the way I went out, it was 2 hands in a row that it felt like bad beats, right? Where you flop a set of 8s against like a rainbow board, and like the first hand I just flopped a set of 8s and it went runner for a flush, right? So it was just sick. I was like, oh, horrible, bad beat. And the very next hand I had pocket 8s again, and now I'm short stacked, and I shove all in. I get called by jacks and ace king, and I flop another set of 8s.
Wow. Nice.
Right? But then it goes runner for a straight, and the jacks win. I'm like, oh, what a horrible bad beat. Horrible. And both of those times I was all in, pre-flop, right? So it's not a bad beat at all. In fact, it would like the second hand, it would have been like a horrible bad beat for the jacks if I had won. But it always feels like a bad beat when you get your money in, and it's about even, it's a coin flip, and you end up flipping the coin, and it lands your way, right? You flop the set, but then like some big gust of wind or some earthquake happens where the coin just like flips over. You know, it's still a coin flip. You got your money in as a coin flip. It never feels that way. So when, I described the hand to the backer, I didn't mention that we got it all in pre-flop. It's just like bad beat. 2 hands in a row, flopped a set, went bad to a runner flush and a runner straight, which is true.
I was listening to an interview with Antonio Esfandiari, and he said in his career he has only lost set over set a handful of times. You must have. I know how often I play, and there's days where I lose 5 or 6 times of the set over set.
Yeah, I'm probably more on the side of Antonio on this one. I think I could probably count on one hand how many times I've lost with a set over set in like a tournament.
Online or on the table?
Right. There's a difference.
But, at the same time, it's also, I don't really remember them. In fact, I only remember one time losing set over set. And it was a few years ago, 2006 or 2007 at Foxwoods, where I flew all the way out to Foxwoods. I caught the cab, scrambled around because they were completely booked. So scrambled around to find a room, found a room, was all just, stressed out. I woke up the next day, and 3 hands into the main event, I got a set of 2s versus a set of 7s. Ouch. So then I went back on the cab, an hour, layover through Atlanta, back in Vegas. It was 3 hands. Other than that, I don't remember ever losing set over set.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's not a fun way to lose, but
maybe that's the difference between like 3-time
players
race winners like
successful.
Antonio and me, and break even positive players. We just run that good. It just doesn't happen. Doesn't happen.
When did you start playing poker? I understand you're in your mid-30s now, so did you start when you were a teenager or younger?
Yeah. I started playing online back in the Planet Poker days. Before Paradise, so that would have been 98, late 98.
Wow.
So that was my first experience with real money poker online. So I would have been 17, just turning 18, and I haven't really done anything since.
So how do you go from 17, looking to bust into the poker world, and then did you just hit a big tournament or something, or how did you get started to where you're successful and you're going out playing in these big events, and how do you do that without having something behind you feeding you when you're losing? Like, what do you do to keep your poker bankroll up, or how did you get it started?
Well, it's a lot easier when you're young and single. You know,
True.
You don't really need much of something pushing you forward. If you're a 19-year-old kid without any obligations and you're okay couch surfing, and you can get by on $200 a month, and it's not really that tough to grind it up. There wasn't any sort of really big score that set me up. I didn't.
Just little scores that you did that you were able to carry yourself through until you could just become a better player and start cashing a lot, or.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I don't know. I didn't have like an introduction where I was losing and then eventually turned it into winning. It wasn't like that for me. I was winning from day one.
Wow.
But I also did it differently. I didn't just sit down and try to figure the game out. I went into it before I ever even touched cards on the real felt or made a deposit online. I had read about 40 books on poker, and back then that was pretty much all you could do. They didn't have the forums, they didn't have the training sites, but they did have they did have a good, actually not that many books, but I read them all, even the bad ones like the Chris Fox book and the Herbert Yardley book and all the way back, and then just 2, 4, 3, 6. It wasn't that tough to beat back then. The little information that was out there, I digested, and then the rest of it I just kind of put together and figured out.
Were you a predominant cash game player or tournament player when you started?
Well, when I started, there were no online tournaments.
Oh, okay.
So predominantly cash.
Cash.
Tournaments really would come later. It wasn't really until PokerStars introduced them online that the tournaments blew up like they did. And then after Moneymaker, pre-Moneymaker, all the tournaments were limit. It was all limit hold'em.
Wasn't that amazing? That they didn't really have any variations of anything. It was just limit hold'em, whether it was a $5 sit and go tournament.
That's how it was in live too.
It was all limit.
It was all limit.
Yeah.
When I first started playing, that's all it was.
It wasn't really until Moneymaker took down the main event in 2003 and ESPN really showcased No Limit Hold'em as the premier event that it switched. And now the Wynn didn't have a limit hold'em tournament.
Right.
The Venetian didn't have a limit hold'em tournament. It's all no limit. Every once in a while, you might find like a PLO tournament and the World Series is wonderful. This is why I love the World Series every year, is because you actually do get a chance to play these different variants and different styles of poker, and it's a bit nostalgic, actually. Because now if you want to make it as a tournament pro, you have to play no limit. That's really the only game that you can make it as a tournament pro.
And want to be successful and a well-known player, because they don't even put like the
numbers
law games on. They don't put any of the mixed games on.
Although you do have George Danzer, who won all 3 bracelets in non-no limit events, right?
And he is now Player of the Year, and he's a much more popular player than most of the players out there right now. And as Player of the Year, it might help out a little bit. I miss 7 stud. I miss walking into a casino and having my choice between Hold'em or 7 stud. Because some nights 7 stud is just the game to play. You can find such great games.
Well,
you can't find a 7
what's
stud.
so wonderful? What's so wonderful about the mixed games, and why I think that casinos in particular would love to still be spreading them, is that if you get just a total tourist off the street and he sits down at a no limit hold'em table, he can win. He can crush it.
Absolutely.
He can sit there. It's almost like slots or blackjack, where the loser can sit down and win. But you sit him in like a rotation game, like a horse game, where you sit him down at stud high low. He's never walking away with the money. Ever.
Never. But he can get it in so bad, ace king versus aces and kings, and still come out with a winning hand.
And it's not like no limit hold'em cash games weren't around before Moneymaker. They just weren't spread by the casinos because they tended to break the fish. You just, if you sit down at a 20-40 limit hold'em game, you can, if you're the worst player alive, you're still not going to be able to lose $1 million in a year. It just can't happen. You just can't do it. It's not possible. But if you sit down at a 10-20 no limit, you can lose that much in a month and a half.
Easily.
So I think that for the casinos, it's always been against their interest to run no limit hold'em games. They don't want to do it because the fish break so quickly. Because the pros are actually able to extract more money, per hand, per hour from a no limit hold'em table than they are from a limit hold'em table. The casinos would rather just everybody get along and just rake off very slowly because they're raking off the same amount, whether the pros winning $100 an hour or $20 an hour, and they're raking the same amount whether the big whale is sitting down and losing $500 an hour or $100 an hour.
Right.
So from a casino's point of view, it doesn't make sense to run no limit hold'em. Unfortunately, for them, and I feel like for the pros, the game's just changed where tourists off the street don't want to play limit. They don't want to play stud. They want to play no limit hold'em. They want to play like they saw on TV.
Instant gratification.
Right.
So, where's your favorite place to play live right now? Is it here in Vegas or is it somewhere else?
Well, I don't really play live anywhere else. I love Vegas. This is why I came here is because we just had this huge conveyor belt of tourist traffic.
Did you live here?
I live here, yeah. This is the best place to live as a poker player as far as I'm concerned. I feel like the games might be better in LA, but we have the tourist money. The games get bigger in LA, but we have the tourist money.
Well, and the people from LA come here too.
That's right.
So.
They do. It was pretty awesome. So I guess right now my favorite place to play would be Caesars.
Really?
Yeah. Most pros like Aria or Bellagio or Venetian. And I didn't really like Caesars for a long time because they had a pretty stiff rate. It was like $5 per hand plus a jackpot plus a tip. So every time you're winning a hand, you're paying $7, which is just obscene. But even back then, the fact that the rake was so high drove away the pros to the other side. So the games were particularly soft. Now they have a new a card room manager named Frank. They kind of revitalized the card room there, right next to the sports book, right next to all the blackjack pits. And they lowered the rake back down to 4. They have some really good promotions for football, which is just awesome. They have these splash pots, which anytime there's like a touchdown or any sort of score during like Thursday night or Sunday night or Monday night games, they just splash the pot. It's a lot of fun.
Didn't they change it though? Didn't they take out like part of their poker room recently? Or at Caesars?
They completely remodeled it.
Oh, just remodeled.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's open. It's like it used to be kind of hidden in the corner. It's like we'll put poker over there where no one can see it. But now you can't walk through the casino without seeing it.
It's just as big though, right?
Yeah. And now what happens is they actually do get people coming from the blackjack table and sitting down.
And that makes a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference. This didn't happen before they brought it out.
It was intimidating to walk into the poker room.
You didn't even know it was there unless you were walking to the bathroom and you were like, "Oh, I meant
what's back here?" Like it looks like it looked like it was like you're going into some kind of a convention hall.
Yeah.
Until you actually went in there,
The only way that you would accidentally go into the card room is if you were trying to get to the men's room.
Right.
That's the only way.
Yeah.
But now you can sit there at the blackjack table and sit down, and several times in the last couple of weeks, there's been some guy, 2 a.m, who's sat down with like the black chips that he just brought from blackjack, and he'll sit down and he won't know really what we're doing. He'll go and lose it all in an hour, and then he'll go and play more roulette or more craps.
If he wins, he brings back to the table.
Come back.
Now, are you boycotting the Venetian? Like many of the other pros?
I don't know. I kind of go back and forth. I definitely won't play as much there. I don't play cash there. The Venetian deep stacks.
They're hard to resist.
They are hard to resist. They
as much as I want to boycott it, we did play the
We
deep
still
stacks.
play there. I think if I saw that it was affecting, poker in general, and Adelson was the cause of that, I would definitely push against. But he's throwing poker tournaments.
Yes.
And they're pretty good.
Adelson sucks.
Yeah.
I can't stand him. I think he's the biggest hypocrite in Vegas.
Have you met him in person?
I haven't met him. I watched his talk this G2E, and then Nolan Dalla had a really good commentary. He put his talk on YouTube with a running commentary over what Adelson was saying. I couldn't believe it. One thing that really struck me out was I always had hoped that the richest people in the world would also be the smartest people in the world. I think there is zero correlation. Watching Sheldon Adelson talk made me, really, really disappointed me because I realized that, he's the richest guy in Nevada. I don't think it's even close. $37 billion. And he's basically built that all on the gambling industry. Yet I watched him on G2E get up there and talk like a complete idiot. He doesn't know anything about the world, about technology, about anything. But on top of that, he goes on and talks about the evils of gambling and talks about how horrible it is and talks about how his own family, his dad had a gambling addiction and it ruined his family.
Yet it made him a billionaire.
I'm like, wake up.
Right.
What do you think that you're doing? If you think that gambling is so bad, how can you sleep at night knowing that people are walking into your casino and losing their money? That's what you do. That's the business you're in.
And he doesn't want people to be able to do it from home.
Yeah. He thinks it's horrible that people could do it from home because, you can know your customer when they come into the Venetian. You can know that they're not high. These are the things he's saying. He's like, you can know that someone's not drunk if they come into the Venetian.
They're serving them drinks.
Yeah,
You can know that they're overage. That they're over 21.
No home Jerome. Remember him?
I've been walking into. I never walked into the Venetian when I was underage. There are plenty of other casinos where I walked in and sat down, no problem. It's easier to know your customer when you're online.
Well, back
Easy.
when we were 18 is different than 18-year-olds now, too.
You gotta holler, girl.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think that nowadays you can really walk into a casino 18 and not get caught.
I don't know.
In the first
I
hour.
completely disagree. I think it's
Really?
easier now. It's easier now because now a 16, 17-year-old kid can go online in the darknet and actually buy a really legitimate-looking fake ID. When I was 15, 16, I had no idea where I would go buy an ID. Now I do.
When I was 16, we had an ID card where you actually stood behind it to take your picture. And
Take a
just
picture.
like at the
and it worked. It worked. It got me into Ocho Casino when I was
Oh my gosh, I
17.
think I saw that on the movie.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to say
That's
that.
one of the movies. They were real.
So are you playing online?
I play a little bit on WSOP.com.
What do you think about it?
It's a sad shadow of what online used to be.
Yes, that's what we think.
Very,
We
very
play
sad.
daily, but almost daily. But yeah, you're right.
I think it's depressing. I think it's depressing.
Sorry, folks.
Every time I play on WSOP.com, I get a little depressed and miss the days where you could multi-table on stars, where you could be playing 10 multi-table tournaments online between full tilt. And don't even get me started about pre-UIGEA and party. Oh my god.
Oh, 2000, the
Days.
summer of 2005,
Oh.
the Christmas of 2005, my kids had the absolute best Christmas, and that was thanks to NetTeller and FirePay. I could get my money out like that, and I'd go and swipe my card at Walmart or whatever, and have all my kids' Christmas. I was just talking about it today. It was the best Christmas my kids have ever had, and that was because I was able to play online, and I could buy into a $5 tournament and take down $15,000. I mean, that's a big difference between now buying into a $5 tournament on WSOP or Ultimate and being able to get 50.
Well, the guarantees are,
What's wrong?
you can get the same guarantee online that you're getting in a casino right now, too. So there really isn't a whole lot of reason to play online. What is it, $200 for a 15K guarantee? You can go down and get a 40K guarantee, right? Is that what it is at the Nugget for 140 once a month,
It's 50, yeah.
or 150? So
But if you have kids or, the wife doesn't play poker and all of that, it's kind of hard to be like, well, I'm going to play poker, unless you drag your wife with you and then or your husband or whatever. And Michelle doesn't play poker, does she?
I mean, she plays a little bit. She plays a little more than she would let on.
is she
Is
good?
she better than you?
Every time we've ever played, she's beaten me.
No.
Every time. She can see right through me.
That's
Do you guys get
good,
out of the
she-
plaza and play on those tables often? Or?
No, I've never taken her down there.
No?
I've played those tables twice now. Once with you, once with Marco.
I was supposed to be there that night. I
So
had
what's your
3
favorite
people
event
that day.
besides the World Series? Because we already know that that's what you're going to say.
Besides the World Series,
Yeah.
what's my favorite event? That's tough. I do like the HPT.
Are you going to do that this year?
I am. There's the Stratosphere coming up
Yeah,
this
we'll-
month.
we'll
I'll be
be there.
playing that. And I really like the 5 Diamond, but I don't know. I mean, the 5 Diamond's kind of gone downhill in the last few years.
Used to be the championship.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's because Jack McClellan left. I think a lot of it has to do with them, taking poker out of that little what was that? The Fontana Room. Back like 2006, 7, 8, they would put the poker tournament in the Fontana Room at the Bellagio. It was just beautiful. You on break, you'd walk outside and see the fountains, and it was just wonderful. And now they just put like right in the middle of the casino floor. It kind of feels like the poker players are on display like animals in a zoo. And the numbers have just really gone downhill.
Which casino is that?
Bellagio.
Oh, Bellagio.
Bellagio.
It kind of does look like. I mean, when I walk by, I look like gawk,
Yeah.
I still really like the 5 Diamond though. But I might be a little biased because I've done pretty well there. I've gotten, I've taken down 2 of those 5 Diamond bracelets. I don't know.
Well, you could look at either a bluff or card player, and you could see the results, and they have dramatically went down. If you go back several years ago, and their numbers were skyrocketed, and now they're just so small. It's almost like it's almost depressing because it's the Bellagio. You always want to see them do well, but
the Bellagio is supposed to be the center of the poker world.
yeah,
Used to be here in Vegas.
Yeah, I don't think it is
Now it's
anymore.
more Aria.
I feel like it is. I feel like it is more Aria.
And Wynn, I think Wynn
Yeah.
has a lot of players too.
seems like. So you have
Wynn's a
3.
beautiful room.
You have
It
3
is.
poker bracelets. So do you remember that first one that you got? And can you describe that a little bit to us?
Tell us what it feels like to hold a World Series of Poker bracelet.
I mean, I just gotta say, you have 3 World Series of Poker
The
bracelets.
first bracelet,
Do you still have all 3 of them?
yeah, I
Very
do.
good.
I mean, I have access to it. I gave one away to Michelle and one away to my mom. So, but if I need to come up with them, I still can't.
Pretty
They're not in a
awesome.
pawn shop.
What events were they that
I
you
saw one
took down?
on Pawn Stars that somebody had pawned one down there. I don't know how we got a hold of it,
not
but
a Pawn Star.
yeah,
I
on
kind of wonder though.
Pawn
Pawn
Stars.
Stars is so scripted. I meant
I know.
like a PR thing.
I'm like, how did it? And it wasn't even the guy that won it. He had got it from some other guy, and he's, But I don't. What are
Eskimo
those
Clark's
things for?
bracelets.
I think Chad Holloway went on Pawn Stars, actually, with some poker memorabilia. Maybe it was him who.
He did not. He did not get on the show though.
He didn't.
Oh,
He didn't
no.
make the cut. He went in for and did everything. They filmed it, but it didn't make the cut for the show. He was really depressed.
That's another thing that disappointed me was Pawn Stars, because I had watched every show of the first 3 seasons of that, and I loved it. Right, I completely bought into all of it.
I loved it too.
And then Michelle, she's like, "Oh look, I got a casting call for Pawn Stars." I'm like, "What are you talking about? A casting call?" And we're reading it. And it's like, okay, we're casting for the next season of Pawn Stars. These are the rules we need. We need someone in the between 22 and 27, female, and male between 31 and 35 to play a married couple who's going to sell a cannon, that he found in an attic. And we need a male between 45 and 55 who is going to
It's that bad.
play a juggler. And I'm reading this. I'm like, no.
Oh, that ruined it. You just ruined the show.
I completely ruined it.
I
for
can't
me,
watch
too.
it anymore.
Because
now.
I completely bought into it. I thought that that these were
It's
real
all
things.
random.
I thought
right.
so too.
No, every
Me
single
too.
one of these guys are actors, and they're bringing in stuff that the producers have like lined up,
Yeah.
and they're saying stuff that is 100% scripted. So when you got the old guy who's negotiating with the old man and saying, I'll give you 50 for it, double it. Okay, that's scripted,
Oh,
and
it's
it
horrible.
sucks. I'm
Oh,
so
it's
disappointed.
over.
So I don't even watch it.
I hope American
I wonder if
Pickers
they're all
is it,
like
because
that.
I love
like
American Pickers too.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I mean, surely they're not all like that. They could be though.
Because they go show up at people's houses out in the middle of nowhere, and I would hate to hear that that's scripted too. I'd be like,
It probably is though, because if you really just like
A lot of the
walked up
times-
to a random house and said,
and they're always home
I want to
too,
start
right?
buying your
They're
stuff.
home and they're always
They're
friendly.
always home, and
They
they're
always
always
sell
willing to let them in.
And there's
I'm
already
like,
a camera inside showing them they're opening the door. So you know, it's somewhat scripted
Busted.
already.
that is so disappointing. Dang
Yeah.
it.
Oh.
So they make it look like anybody can do it. Let's just
Yeah.
go drive to Nebraska.
I don't know if you guys have actually gone to Pawn Star's shop.
Yeah.
No, I've driven by it. I've never
I mean,
been in
it's
there.
not a
I've
pawn
been-
shop.
No.
they basically sell T-shirts and
Cups.
Yeah, it's a souvenir shop.
That I didn't know. I thought it was a regular pawn shop.
Oh, I've seen it with
they
lined out the door and stuff, but
I mean, it kind of looks like a regular pawn shop, but it's not.
They have the
It's
displays and stuff, and some
It's
of the
a
stuff that
souvenir
you see on
place.
TV.
I mean, if you
But
see
they
it on
have more
TV, it looks like a
cups
pawn
and-
shop to me.
well, maybe
Yeah.
the first season.
But obviously, it's just for TV.
maybe
On
the
TV, yeah, that's the thing. Is on TV, like you don't see what it really is because they'll take the T-shirts and all the souvenir stuff out. They'll put everybody out on the street, and then it'll look like a real pawn shop. But when you walk in there, and I think that they will sell like stuff like silver coins and stuff, but they'll sell it at like $50 for an ounce of silver, which is $17.50. But you'll go in and you'll be able to buy it and say it's basically a souvenir. I bought this from the Pawn Stars shop. So it's
the whole idea of it alone is just a good idea. I don't see why they have to script it. Vegas has already got a lot of characters. I mean, I don't think you need to really.
Right.
I mean, just imagine owning a pawn shop, a 24-hour pawn shop anywhere in this city. The kind of stuff that could walk through that door, and by stuff, I also mean people.
I agree with you. I feel like it would have been just as interesting if they didn't have to script it. I feel like there must be really interesting, but on the other hand,
down time. That's all.
it's also probably depressing. It's probably a very depressing show.
Right.
Because you get these guys who are like, you want to sell it or you just need a loan? I just need a loan, man, because I just need to pay my rent tomorrow. This is my most valuable possession in the world. What can you get? Well, $40.
Yeah.
$40.
$40.
That's depressing.
Exactly what it's like.
It's depressing. Yeah, actually, I've been in a pawn shop to pawn something off, and that is a depressing experience. That first off, I wouldn't want anyone to see it.
Right.
If I was like,
I think that- I
pawning
mean, I
something
have
off
too,
to make
so I know
rent
the
or put
feeling.
together a bankroll after going bust, I would rather not my friends say, "Oh, I saw you on Pawn Stars."
Yeah.
I'd have bought that for more if you'd just told me.
Right.
But yeah,
That's funny.
yeah, like the Pawn Stars is always very a happy feel to it. It's like a guy coming in, inherited some like old Spanish rifle, and now he's like trading it for a wedding ring for his fiance. Those aren't the kind of stories they would get. They would get, I just stole this gold ring from my aunt. I need a rock. So what can you give it to? Like that. That's a pawn shop story. So I don't know. Maybe
Especially
they do need it scripted.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
So, Dutch, your book Poker Tilt came out this last spring.
Yep.
How's it been doing? Where can people pick one up?
It's really cheap right now. We got our very first bad review because all the reviews have been stellar, great, 5-star, 4-star reviews. But then we got 1 2-star review, and I was like, no. I'm reading it. He was like, well, maybe it would be worth $5, but it's just too expensive. Because I think the Kindle version was $10 and the paper copy was $22, and so we were like, okay, let's lower the price. So we lowered as low as we can on Amazon, so you can get it for less than $3 now.
Oh, wow. The book.
The digital copy?
The digital copy for $2.50. The paper copy is as low as they'll let us sell it, which I think is $11. So, that's where to get it, Amazon. You can also get it on iTunes, on the Next store.
So I can go to Amazon to get the paper book?
Yep.
So who all put in on your book?
I like Kindle
Just
editions.
you and a couple.
Just me.
Just you.
I wrote every single word in the book. I have a co-author listed who did a lot of the editing, cover design,
Wow, interesting.
but and also took out a lot of words because the book was a lot more fluffier. There were parts of the book that just really were horrible, and he helped take those out. So I feel like But as far as like who wrote the book, I wrote it.
And what did you gear towards beginners or towards advanced or all of it?
Everybody. Everybody can get
So
something.
is it cash or tournament? Where's the what's this mainly?
It's really not mainly. It's not really a strategy book. It's
Oh, okay.
It's more just talking about poker, talking about the industry, talking about coming up in it. So a lot of just observations, a lot, quite a bit, kind of autobiographical, I suppose. It was hard to write, very cathartic. But I think I like the book. I think
It was very captivating. Once I seen it, I opened it up and I'm I just sat there and
Well,
read until I was done.
We'll have to read it,
And I think you
We will.
can
We'll go
relate
pick up
a
a
lot
copy.
of
I'm not much of a reader.
situations to it.
and you'll
you
come
know?
back on the show again, and I'll have.
We'd like to talk about your
If you
book.
both read the book, then
Okay.
We'll read
I'll
the book.
buy-
the book. And
Well, I'll buy the Kindle version, and you can buy the paperback.
Well,
version.
I'll definitely. I'm
So you get 2
always
sales
down
out
for
of
reading
this.
some new material. Somebody that's been playing, say, for 15 years, and then they, want to read, and there's something in there for them as well.
yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. They'll get a lot of it out of it. But I had a buddy who read the book. He was a guy I had known from Fresno from back in 2005, 2006. And he started emailing me a few weeks ago. And he was like, oh, I just started getting into poker. I saw that you've been doing pretty well in poker. You remember me? I'm like, yeah, I remember you, Kenny. He's like, yeah, so I'm going to order your book. And he keeps on telling me about these pokers and like things that he goes through. He's like, I won $1,000 last night, but then I lost it. And then, I'm having trouble with the wife because she doesn't want me to gamble, blah, blah, blah. What is your advice? How do I get a bankroll, blah, blah, blah. And then he emails me. He's like, I just finished your book, Dutch. I've decided that poker's not for me. he goes, after reading your book, I realized that poker's a really lousy way to make a living. And most
It's a
poker
little bit of
players
realism in there.
are kind of assholes and scumbags, and I just think there's more productive ways to spend my time. So thank you. And I'm like,
Productive.
I feel like
Sounds like Coleman.
but I'm like, you know what? Honestly, if like a friend of mine said, "Hey, do you think I should be a professional poker player?" No, no, I don't think you should be a professional poker player. I'm thinking about what I should do with my life. I'm thinking about either going into finance, opening up a business, being a teacher, or being a poker player. What do you think I should be, Dutch? Well,
anything.
I don't know, but I can mark off one of them. So I don't know. I feel like with a professional poker player who's been doing it for 15 years, get something out of my book, yeah. But they also might get a little bit of regret out of my book too.
It's very
Now,
true.
is this a lot of personal experiences of yours that you're putting in the book, and you talk about yourself a lot, or?
Yeah, I talk about just coming through it. Starting very young in poker before Moneymaker, post Rounders, post Moneymaker, and watching poker change, watching online poker be introduced, watching ESPN blow the game up, watch all of a sudden just billions of dollars being pumped into the economy, and then just having it just taken out. And seeing what happened.
Destroyed a lot of people.
It's a really interesting story, and there's not a lot of people who really have, a frontline seat throughout the whole thing. And I do.
Moneymaker was 2004. Is that right?
3.
2003. Okay. Yeah, I was still 20. I remember when it happened, but I wasn't really in it.
You had a lot of options growing. I mean, you were going to college to be a lawyer.
Yep.
And you decided poker was. Do you ever regret that? I mean, maybe that's not even a fair question.
Every time I get a set cracked, I regret it.
I should have been an
Every
attorney.
single bust out, I think, you know what? This was a bad idea.
I was gonna go into law
Shift
myself.
manager at McDonald's.
I know you gotta get going soon. I want to tell you a little bit about. We have our BigAss Poker. That's who we are. We're branding it. We're gonna trademark it, and we're gonna make some sweaters. We're gonna sell them, some shirts, mugs, all kinds of stuff, some merchandise, and get it out there. And we are. We'd be honored to give you one if you would like one.
I'll take one. So it's kind of interesting. So you guys are going to be like competing directly with Big Cock Poker. Big Ass Poker, Big Cock Poker.
Right? Put them together, and we might make a movie.
Round chicken, brown cow.
I think I already have the song in mind for
Right,
that.
right. Everybody's going.
But
I look forward to seeing how it develops. Definitely.
Yeah, we've got, obviously it's kind of, big ass, because we're kind of playing with the whole donkey thing. I don't think any of us are really donkeys, but it's fun to play with words, and we are a bunch of assholes, so put us together, and you can kind of play with that. It took us almost a month to come up with the name. There was a lot of arguing.
Okay, so let's hear some of the runner-ups.
Some of the runner-ups were One Jack Off.
Okay.
Desert donkeys.
Sin City Poker.
I like Desert Donkeys.
Sin City.
That's cool.
Yeah, Desert Donkeys.
Cute. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. What was
That's
the Sin
alliteration.
City one that I love?
This is for fun, you know.
I think it was Sin City Poker
This
or
is-
something. So those were some of them. That was my favorite one, but Nate didn't like that
What
one.
was it called?
So the Sin City Poker.
Then we came up with Big Ass.
Yeah, and I didn't just everybody liked it. Oh, bitches up. That was everybody liked that, but that was my veto. That was I was like, we do not want to be published as bitches up, so
So we
I vetoed
stuck with
that.
ass.
Well,
So now we're all big asses.
sounds like you got the hard part down.
Yeah.
And coming up with a name is the
And we got the
toughest part.
logo. We're gonna
So-
trademark it, and we're gonna get it out there. So, and we also play. Obviously, like we all play. We started off as a team of 6, but 2 of them didn't work out. So now we're down to 4. We're real intimate. We're keeping it that way for a while, but we will have new members come in. There's already a little bit of interest.
Yeah.
Oh,
Taco. You've met Amanda and Steve.
yeah, well, that didn't work out. Anyway, but yeah, so there will be new members
And
in the
I'm so
future.
curious now.
Well, come
Okay.
over and
Off air.
Yeah, I'd love to hear this story. Thanks for having me on.
Hey,
Really
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thanks
Angel,
for coming by.
you know I love you guys.
Love you.
Thanks, Nate.
coming.
It's nice
And
meeting you.
thanks for having me.
Say bye to
All right,
everybody.
we're gonna read your
Viewers.
book, and you're gonna come back, right?
Yep, absolutely.
All right,
I need a
sounds
T-shirt. Okay, see you guys
See
later.
you soon, Dutch. So that was Dutch Boyd sitting here on the big ass poker couch. Angel's gonna escort him out.
Well,
So
I had,
Kind bracelet.
I had a couple questions I
exciting.
really wanted to ask him, but we didn't get that far. Next time, and he did say if we, read his
he'll
book.
be back on. He's a great friend. He's he's a good person to know.
I like the fact that he wasn't, he didn't come across as somebody that was too good to come show up, and as other poker players that I know that have a bankroll that kind of put themselves out there in a sense and in a way that makes you almost feel privileged just to have them walk in your house, and that annoys the crap out of me because they're no different than you or I, and so it was kind of refreshing to hear him sit here and relax and have a conversation. I do want to ask him a couple questions, a little bit about how his strategy when he first started. Everybody has a strategy.
Well, you'll actually learn a lot when you read his
From
book.
his book, yeah.
He really goes through a
I
lot
want
of
to hear a
things.
little more feelings about, what his experiences were and his thoughts while he was just starting off. His first main event that he played, things like that. Things that I haven't gotten to yet, like playing my first main. Like a $1,600 event or up. I haven't done that. I've played a gang of $300, $400, $500 buy-ins, and I don't think it'd be a whole lot different. But everybody's got their own personality, and I'd like to hear a little bit about what he's, got to say. So hopefully next time he could spend, the full hour with us, and I think he'll definitely feel more comfortable when he shows up next time, especially after we read his book and probably know him a lot better, because I kind of, the look he gave me kind of made me feel like he did, in fact, write the book and with a lot of personal experiences. So I think that we'll have an idea of who he is. And overall, I rate the interview pretty good. I think that he's a really cordial guy. He's nice. He seems like the way a modern poker player, in my opinion, should be. Now I'm finding a lot of people that I would not expect to be poker players. I see poker players. He looked like a poker player to me.
He's
Just
a poker player.
just
Set
looked
up
like
so the
straight up looked like it. So,
there,
there we go.
get it zoomed in on me here a little. Oh, I did move it off to the side.
But yeah, he seemed talkative, excitable, the whole bit. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the interview quite a bit, and just hanging out with him in general. So
Well, it's funny that you mentioned MTTs online, because Dutch actually invented them.
MTT's online.
Yeah, online multi-table tournaments on the site that he started. Him and his brother actually built from scratch. It was called Poker Spot, which they were one of the first companies that took hits from processors, where the processors actually stole all their money.
But you're saying that Dutch Boyd invented tournaments
Online multi-table tournaments. Yes.
Really? Wow.
He did.
So we never had a multi-table tournament until Dutch invented it?
Until Dutch started them, and then as soon as he announced that they were going out with them, Poker Stars opened, and then took over the. Well, was it Poker Stars or Party Poker? Party Poker.
Wow. So does he make royalties on this idea? Or?
No. But the online multi-table tournaments were first on PokerSpot.
Wow.
It was the first place that they were held, and then the other sites started picking up and doing this.
I mean, honestly, Nate, that's kind of a something nobody thinks about. We all take that for granted that tournaments online just kind of were natural and they always were there.
Oh,
but you're telling me Dutch invented them, which is
the
really
multi-table
cool.
tournament standard.
And, yeah, that's interesting. We'll have to talk to him a little bit about that and find out.
His brother wrote all the code for it. Welcome back.
That's cool.
I expected it to take at least more than 3 minutes.
Well, it was just real quick. You just made it. No.
Does anybody have any questions or?
We've been having comments all night. Let's see here. Any questions in the chat room? Pop on, but they are waiting for a table dance. Who wanted the table dance? Somebody wanted.
Well, I think next time he's on, we should have maybe some of our listeners ask him some questions. That might be fun.
It might be.
Yeah.
And plus, I think that just nailing out the hard questions for him and letting him know what we're going to ask him, might be helpful. Mostly about exactly, the roadmap. Our last session was on bankroll management and what his strategies were and what he did and how he became successful. So people that want to be successful and follow in his shoes might be able to do the same. So there's some things that, he's proven success story, 3-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner, including 2-time Bellagio, 5-star Doyle Brunson WPT series winner. So he's definitely got a decorated background.
He's a very accomplished player.
Yeah, so I think
where we all want to be.
I think it's pretty fun to be able to meet up and at least have that input if he's willing to share it. So I think next time he comes on, and we'll read his book as we committed to, and then we'll ask him, and I'll be more prepared to ask him the hard questions. And then, of course, we'll give him the heads up so he can have time to give us a good answer.
No heads up. Come on.
Well, it's always good because these are hard questions that we really want good answers to, and I think anybody listening would really probably tune in and listen for it. So these questions are what is on everybody's mind. I've personally been playing for 15, 18 years, maybe longer, and how long did it take him before he decided to invest a giant chunk of money on a big tournament? When did he feel confident?
You even heard him talking right here on the couch. He said that at the Win main event, which was, I believe, a $1,600 buy-in. What was that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was he had to explain the hand to the backer where he lost with a set of 8s and a set of 8s back to back.
Oh, and this was just now.
This was just now.
Oh, so he's backed right now. He's a backed player. Well, see, that's what I'm hoping to avoid. I don't want to be a backed player, but it's probably worth it if it's a good deal. I would say, if it's a good deal.
If it keeps you playing in the game, and if it keeps you
playing in the game, right? If it keeps you going, and you're making I know nothing of that world, but I know that in the business world, and I'm a pretty good businessman. If I go out and I get a loan to put my business somewhere other than where it's at now and progress it, I have to pay back those loans. And if I could do it without those loans, then
you still have those loans, but once you do make the score, you have to give back the makeup, whatever it is.
Right, when you're being backed, right.
Right.
But if you could do it without being backed, I think that would be what everybody would choose. They could not have to be backed, right?
Right, but look at all the players in the $1 million one drop. There wasn't one player that had all of themselves.
Well, that's a $1 million buy-in right there. I don't see myself.
But even Daniel Negreanu, who has the $1 million to sit down in that tournament, who actually he took second place this year.
Right.
He had to write checks to other people also.
Right. And I agree. I think that's a plausible way to play poker is to have people pay for part of your buy-ins. But again, my personal preference is
To have all yours.
if I could create something. I think I mentioned it earlier. If I could create something that feeds myself as I play. For instance, he said that he plays poker predominantly, and since he was 17, I think. And so that's a long time, and he's 34 now. He said so. That's 17 years of playing poker. That's a lot of time, a lot of experience and knowledge. He wrote a book. He's got decorations from trophies and rings and whatever he's got, which is awesome. I think
he's very clear in his book.
Speak up.
He's very clear in his book. He's very open.
I think mostly if you can, and I don't know if it's possible, but for me, I'm taking the Vegas challenge as a life challenge, something that I choose to do. I love Vegas. I moved here for the poker, but I'm in no illusion that I'm going to be an instant success story. I would love to be. And so my challenge,
What's instant
I made
success?
this.
You've been playing for 18 years already.
Well,
so it's
been a
instant
hobby.
success.
It's been a hobby forever. I moved here 2 years ago and have been just playing poker off and on. But my idea of being a poker player is to not have to rely on the money. And if I can get, great scores and stuff, that sounds awesome. But my challenge to myself, since I've moved here, was to develop a business, or even two, that is a revolving. I'm to the point now where I'm pretty comfortable, but I don't want to. If I fail, I want it to be okay. I don't want to rely on anybody else but myself. And so my goal, and is why
you're
I don't
sitting here
play.
with a team.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as a team, we can all help each other to where I don't have to spend a lot of my hard-earned money, and we can make things work out collectively as a team. So I'm willing, and plus it's friendship, and there's a lot more to life than money, and I enjoy the friendship of the team. However, I also want
to money.
Of course, yeah. I love to spend it as well, and I like to get to the point where I could go off and play these events without actually depending on winning to be able to play the next one. And so my goal is to have a backbone, a spine, whatever you call it, that feeds me as I play, win or lose, because that's what keeps the game fun for me. If I have to rely on it to pay my rent, man, I don't know how much I'm going to enjoy the game. I just don't know. Everybody's different, but I love the game enough that I want my business to cover my bills, and I want all my fun money to keep it fun. And I will play all the big tournaments that I can and win as much as possible.
I'd like to see you say nice hand to people that beat you instead of throwing mouses.
Well, I do it. I will tell you this. That's great advice. I do it in real life. Because it doesn't happen as often. It's easier to accept. Online, I don't take the time to type in nice hand if I'm out of the tournament on that one. Now my mouse is hitting the wall. But if it's where they take 30% of my stack, yeah, sure, I can definitely say nice hand. If they take me out of the tournament, if I have a wireless keyboard, it's hitting my knee. My mouse is going against the wall. I hate losing online like I do, with a passion. I just gotta say, set over set 7 times in 2 days, it's a little discouraging. It happened to me, yes, and it happened in 3 different tournaments, 4 different tournaments, and I just go crazy over that. I can't describe the anger, and I'm a pretty mellow guy. Anybody that knows me, they might realize that I'm a little feisty, after a while, but for the most part, I'm pretty mellow.
Pretty mellow.
Pretty mellow.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm too aggressive, but something about online poker
Look at the camera.
brings out the monster in me. It just does.
Sorry, I was looking.
Anyways, it was
Yes.
fun. I think we had a good time tonight. I'm really happy you showed up. I really am. And I'm glad that you guys were able to arrange that. And, that was cool.
Not a problem.
Yes.
We've got so many more
Thank
people
you.
that we can bring over, and
I'd like to have Damon here in person.
absolutely, Damon.
I like
Damon
Damon.
could have been here tonight.
Damon, right?
Yeah.
Did I say it wrong?
For the no.
I want to
longest
harass
time
him
I called
about his
Damien.
book title.
Oh.
Even though I'm really proud of him because he's so proud of himself.
Well,
He's
and it's
done
all
well.
his own hard work. You
I
know,
like how-
Absolutely it is.
Dennis
And
here also.
I really think that that's pretty cool that somebody that can
Maybe Dan
have an
Grano.
accomplishment is that proud. You can't hold anything against him, It's like,
No.
well,
hey,
he's also the Iron
Yeah.
Man of poker. He's in the Guinness Book of World's Record.
This is a shout out to Daniel Negrano.
I dare,
the Big
I
Ass
dare
Poker
you to
Show.
come
You
out
will
here.
not regret it. You'll have a great time.
We'll give you wickets.
We will give you beer and pizza and
He's more of a
challenge
wine
you.
drinker, and he doesn't
Oh.
like to drink out of plastic.
Okay, so
You're gonna have
wine
to
out of
go.
glass
Okay, I could cater to the picky
and a
type,
bottle.
but it's okay. I mean,
Pork.
he seems like such a nice personality to talk to. And surprisingly, Dutch Boyd was really, really nice. That was refreshing. I didn't think I was going to get that.
Dutch is great. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to get that at all. So I'm really surprised at how nice he turned out to be. So that's cool. I'm looking forward to reading his book and having him come back. I really am.
The book is really good. It's not a strategy book.
And I want to bring up our brand. Let's bring up our brand.
BigAss.
Big ass poker.
Yes, and we will. I'm hoping to have some of our big ass stuff on sale next week. I guess I can show our first one, right?
Yeah, but you got to just bring it up to the
All right.
camera a little bit.
So here's our first item up. It is. Where's the? Is this the camera?
Yeah, on the left hand side.
Look and see if you can see
See it? Yeah. So it's got the
I
donkey.
need a bug.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, so we're going to start putting this on sweaters. Just the big ass sign there is going to go on some other things like coffee mugs and stuff like that.
You got
So
to turn and talk to the camera.
we'll have our banner up so you guys can have a better idea of it. But if you're interested, please let us know because we will start hoping selling things, be ready to start selling things next week, which I'm really excited for. It will be trademark, it will be legitimate, and we will be the only ones selling the brand. So, does anybody else have anything to say about it? It's awesome. I mean, it's awesome. It's original artwork too, which is really
Yes.
exciting. It's original artwork.
Heather's done a lot of it. So.
Well, I colored it. I didn't draw it. But my
We will
sister.
have it. We will have it all up and ready for you. Scarecrow asks, where can he see it?
See what the
He's
Well,
not
logo?
looking.
Oh,
You'll be able to see it on YouTube later. Just watch for the last 5-minute mark and
Or
slide
you
it
stream-
over there.
yeah, because I just held it up, but
We will have it on the banner that you see right.
tell them to
It will
follow
be up
us
there.
on Facebook.
do you want to just
on-
put it in front of the little dealio?
I
right?
did.
She just did.
Oh.
So
But-
follow us on Facebook on Big Ass Poker, and I'll get the first logo up.
They have to join the club. Big Ass Poker is
Yeah.
a club on Facebook. If you'd like to be a member, just click on Join Club for Big Ass Poker, and we'll accept all members, and then you'll be able to buy the T-shirts and sweatshirts,
Like 10
Right
hats.
You know what we're going to do here? We're going to put this coffee table right here.
This does not need to be on air.
Yeah, we'll talk about those plans in the next Big Ass
We're
Poker
gonna put
show.
a big ass fireplace
So
right
anyway,
there is where
as-
it's going.
as the t-shirts and the sweaters and everything comes out, I'll put it on the Big Ass Poker page on Facebook, and you guys can take a look. And if you're interested in ordering, just send a message. It goes directly to Nate or bigasspoker@gmail.com, And let us know if you're interested, and if you want to see something, we can get it emailed over to you. And pricing, we don't know anything about pricing just yet, but
We're working on it.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
So that's going to wrap up the show for tonight. Thanks for watching another episode of the BigAss Poker Show. We will be back next week. Stay tuned. We'll let you know who the special guest, besides Angel, is going to be. So thanks for watching the BigAss
Don't
Poker
think it
Show
hasn't been a little slice of heaven.
here on Untilt Radio. See you next week, folks.